Chancy and the Grand Rascal by Fleischman, Chapter 2, Colonel Plugg. The man was sitting on a butternut stump at the crossroads. He wore a leather eye patch, a tailcoat, and a double gold watch chain across his vest. He was fanning his plump red face with a beaver hat when Chancy came whistling along. At the man's feet stood a straw suitcase. "How do, boy?" Chancy had never met a man with an eye patch, and it gave him a start. He had hardly come 30 miles, and the world was starting to shower its wonders on him. "Howdy, sir. By jacks, you come along like an angel of mercy. Stay a moment. Colonel Plugg's my name. Ahem. You're heading over to Tulip Tree, I fancy. You can do me a large favor. Ahem. You've heard of me, of course." "No, sir," Chancy said. The eye patch was as fascinating as a loose tooth, and he could hardly keep from staring at it. "I'm a stranger down this way." "Well, that explains it," the man laughed. "Everybody knows me in these parts. I do a bit of scientific farming, you might say. That 160 acres back yonder, where you see the house, that belongs to me. Judge Coatjohn's place. It used to be. I planted it in nutmegs, imported the seeds all the way from the East Indies. The whole thing's scientific. Ahem. Ain't another nutmeg plantation in this country." He wiped out his wing collar with a linen handkerchief. "It'll be worth untold millions when it comes into bearing, I can tell you." Chancy tried to keep his attention focused on the man's good eye, which was a piercing blue. Colonel Plugg was clearly an important person. True, his beaver hat looked a bit mangy, but he carried a white linen handkerchief, and it wasn't even Sunday. Chancy was impressed. "I was just marching to Tulip Tree myself," said Colonel Plugg, "but I don't mind telling you my leg ain't what it used to be before the war. Stopped a musket ball at Vicksburg. Left knee. The ball's still in there. By jacks, that wheelbarrow is a handy contrivance, boy. What do you say I just pile on my suitcase and we'll walk along together?" Chancy's ears had pricked up. Vicksburg. His father had fought at Vicksburg. Chancy found a place for the suitcase. "Maybe you knew my father," he said. "Dr. Rufus Dundee. He was at Vicksburg, too." "I declare!" Colonel Plugg began loping along beside him, favoring his left knee. "Dundee, you say? Dundee? No, I don't seem to recollect that name. There was a right smart lot of us, I tell you. The musket balls were flying around like hornets. Had 2 horses shot out from under me, poor beasts. No, I don't believe I knew your father." Chancy was disappointed, but he was glad to have Colonel Plugg along. The man hardly stopped talking. It passed the time, and Chancy listened attentively. He didn't mind the extra load on his wheelbarrow, but when he bounced the wheel over a rut, the colonel was quick to caution him. "Easy with the suitcase, boy. It's full of eggs." "Eggs?" 5 dozen of the largest, freshest eggs you ever saw. They're still warm from the hens, all triple yolkers." "Triple yolkers, sir?" "I guarantee it. I keep a few prime chickens, and raise 'em scientific. 3 yolks to every shell. Folks call 'em Colonel Plugg's Ohio Wonder Eggs. The general store at Tulip Tree is always trying to buy my triple yolkers, but they ain't for sale usually. Prefer to give them away to the poor, but if I don't exercise my leg, the doc says it'll go lame on me. So I thought I'd march down to the store and sell a few eggs." Chancy was curious to see one of the wonder eggs. He avoided every bump in the road. He couldn't very well expect Colonel Plugg to take a turn at the wheelbarrow, not with a musket ball on his knee. "How far you wayfaring, boy?" "Paducah, sir," Chancy said. "Aim to catch the steamboat." "Fine place, Paducah. Been there many a time myself. You must look up my old friend Colonel Shrewsbury and extend my compliments. But see here, if you're taking the steamboat, you must have the fare money in your pocket. All varieties of scamps and rascals along the river cut your throat for $1 or less. You be careful, boy. Take my word, and never trust a man in a slouch hat. I never met a man in a slouch hat who didn't have 5 aces up his sleeve. A bad lot, I'll tell you. They'd steal the bark off a tree. When you get down to the river, keep an eye peeled for slouch hats and hide your money. I'm telling you this for your own good." "Much obliged," Chancy said. It struck him as a as a quirkish sort of warning, but he felt he ought to take all the advice he could get, and he didn't have a $3 gold piece, and he did have a $3 gold piece in a pouch around his neck. It had taken him years to save it. Once he reached the river, he'd keep an eye peeled. It was surprising how quickly Colonel Plugg strode along, even with the musket ball in his knee. Chancy could hardly keep up. Then, with Tulip Tree almost in sight, the colonel's leg almost went out from under him. "Hold it, boy! I'll be blessed if I can go another step. My knee is plumb give out. Help me yonder into the shade. Thank you, boy." Chancy half supported him to a large buckeye, and the old soldier eased himself to the ground with his back against the trunk. Chancy regarded him anxiously. A wounded man oughtn't to be out walking in the hot sun. No, sir. Colonel Plugg mopped his face with the handkerchief. "By jacks, that musket ball feels as swelled up as a cannonball in my knee. Reckon I overdid the marching. I'm stuck here, it looks like. Ahem. May have to sit the rest of the day before the swelling goes down." "I'm desperate sorry," said Chancy. "No matter. None at all. But you'd be doing me a large favor to take those eggs to the store while they're still fresh, if it wouldn't be too much trouble." "None at all." "Thank you, boy. Chancy was your name, wasn't it?" "Yes, sir. Let me see. Them triple yokers ought to fetch 9 cents each. The 5 dozen would come to $5.40. You just say they're Colonel Plugg's Ohio Wonder eggs, and there'll be no trouble about the price. I am to reward you with $1, Chancy, if you wouldn't mind bringing me back the proceeds. Town's just the other side of the hill." $1? That's what I said." Chancy was dazzled by his sudden good luck. The buckeye in his hip pocket must be working. $1 was a bountiful sum, and he was eager to earn it. "You rest easy, sir," he said. "By dogs, I'll have your egg money back in no time at all. I'll just wait here in the shade and ease my leg." The colonel fanned his flushed face with his beaver hat. "But see here, Chancy, we ought to do this businesslike and scientific. Not that you don't have an honest face. I know you ain't going to skedaddle with my egg money. Bless you, the thought hasn't even entered my head. I can see that." Chancy gave him a guarded look. "No, sir. Don't take offense," Colonel Plugg said quickly, "but I'd hate to be the cause of putting temptation in a lad's path. By jacks, that would weigh on my conscience every minute you was gone. Not that temptation could stand up to a hard-working, open-hearted youngster such as yourself. Not likely. But the thing to do is go by the book, and the book says a chunk of security is called for in this case." "Security?" Chancy said. He began to feel uneasy. Earning that $1 was getting complicated. "The party of the first part, that's you, Chancy, puts up some trifling item of value. The party of the second part, that's me, I hold it until you get back with the egg money. That's the business-like thing to do, fair and square. A boy can't learn the ways of good business too early in life." Chancy took a breath. "If that's what the book says," he nodded. The suspicion that he might run off ruffled him, but he could see Colonel Plugg's side of it. Chancy was only a stranger to him, and with his leg as stiff as a slat, the man was rooted to the spot. He'd be helpless if Chancy skedaddled. "I could leave my shoes behind," he said. "Well, no, I never met a boy who'd come back for his shoes. Say you was to put up your axe, I doubt if it's equal to the value of my straw suitcase, not to mention the eggs at all, but I'd accept the axe. You'll get it back, of course. We're just going by the book." "No, sir," Chancy said firmly. I reckon I don't want to put up my pa's axe. If that's what the book says, I guess not. I won't be earning that $1. "Hold on, of course you won't part with the axe, it being your own father's, like you just said. Well, that's why they invented cash money. You just put up $5, climb this old buckeye, and leave it on a high branch where I can't touch it. It'll be there when you get back. Mind, it's just the principle of the thing I'm trying to learn you." "Yes, sir," Chancy said, "but I don't have $5. 4, 3, Chancy wished suddenly he were shed of Colonel Plugg and his triple yoke eggs. And yet, what did he have to fear? With his bad leg, the colonel couldn't climb the tree if the ground were afire. "That's the cash money I owe. It's my steamboat fare." "Done," said Colonel Plugg. "I'm getting the short end of the security, you understand that. But I won't quibble. Done, I say. When you get back, you'll have an extra $1 for your trouble. Ahem. I don't mind telling you, you'll need it. Steamboat fare to Paducah will run you all of $4. If what Colonel Plugg said was true, the extra $1 loomed with special importance. Chancy hesitated only another moment. He hated to part with his gold piece, but he'd soon be back for it. He pulled the leather pouch from around his neck, climbed the tree, and hung it on a branch. He slid to the ground and picked up the wheelbarrow. I'll be back. I'll be waiting. Chancy went trundling down the road. The village was just beyond the hill. It was across a dry creek and through a cornfield on the other side of a magnolia standing as huge as a thunderhead. It was almost half an hour before Chancy reached his destination. The village seemed composed of little more than a big tulip tree and Piccawilly's general mercantile and feed store. Chancy helped himself at the water barrel on the porch. A lanky man with shiny black sleeve guards and a turkey feather duster sticking out of his hip pocket came through the door and began to hang fresh curls of flypaper. Hot enough for you? He smiled. Yes, sir, Chancy said emphatically. I'm about to melt out of my clothes. Are you Mr. Piccawilly? The storekeeper nodded. Anything I can do for you? Colonel Plugg sent me with these eggs to sell you. I can use some eggs. They fresh? Yes, sir, still warm from the hen. Chancy threw back the lid and exposed the eggs to the sun. 5 dozen of Colonel Plugg's Ohio Wonder eggs. Triple yolkers, you know. Triple yolkers. Guaranteed. Well, that's a new one on me. The storekeeper gazed at the mixed brown and white eggs. Kind of chalky looking, some of them. What you asking? 9 cents each? Each! They're wonder eggs, raised scientific, you know. It seemed peculiar to Chancy that the storekeeper didn't already know about Colonel Plugg's triple yolk eggs, and then Chancy heard a faint pecking sound from the suitcase. A white egg was twitching. Chancy gazed at it unbelieving. Another began to rock, and then, before his eyes, a shell broke and a wet chick began to chirp. Chancy was thunderstruck. Mr. Piccawilly straightened and shook his head. Young feller, those eggs are about as fresh as last summer's calendar. The sun's hatching them out. But, sir, the whole top layer was beginning to rock about in the straw packing. The storekeeper regarded Chancy thoughtfully. Who did you say sent you? Colonel Plugg. He live around here? Yes, sir. He owns Judge Coatjohn's old place, planted in nutmeg trees. Nutmegs? Why, boy, you can't grow nutmegs around here anywhere else I know of. I've never heard of a Judge Coatjohn either, and I've lived here all my life. Did this man sell you those stale eggs? Chancy felt his face redden. No, sir, but I did have to leave my $3 gold piece behind. We went by the book. Security, he called it. You'd better hurry back and get it, son, if he ain't up and gone already. Chancy found some hope and clung to it. I reckon he's still resting in the shade. He's laid up with a musket ball in his knee. Musket ball? I wager there's nothing wrong with his knee. You've been fast-talked, boy. I hate to tell you that. This time of year brings out a regiment of wayfarers and whatnot. Sell you the blue sky overhead even on a cloudy day. That swindler is long gone by now, but I'll hitch up the buggy and we'll go see. I'd mighty like to see you get your money back. Mr. Piccawilly turned and called through the screen door. Old lady, you watch the store. I'll be back. Colonel Plugg was gone. Chancy peered up into the branches of the buckeye tree. His heart felt as heavy as a grindstone. The money pouch was no longer hanging from the limb, but he climbed the tree anyway and looked all around. It couldn't be true, but it was. His $3 gold piece was gone. You might as well come down, the storekeeper called. Frettin' won't get your money back. Chancy wiped the sweat off his face and the crook of his sleeve. He lingered another moment and then lowered himself to the ground. He was too old to cry, and anyway, Mr. Piccawilly was looking at him. Chancy took a long breath and climbed into the buggy. The storekeeper turned back in the direction of Tulip Tree. One of them river scamps, most likely, he said. There are more colonels along the river these days than fought in the war, both sides. And wore an eye patch, did he? Oh, he's a cunning one. Reckon his 2 eyes are as lively as his 2 legs. He's probably in the state of Indiana by now. Chancy clamped his jaws. He didn't have sense enough to pull his head in when he shut the window. He'd been humbugged every step of the way. No wonder Colonel Plugg had hurried him along the road. He wanted to be shed of those stale eggs before they hatched. Well, if that scoundrel ever crossed his path again, he'd be sorry. Tarnation, he would. You come along back and stay for supper, said Mr. Pickawilly. We'll fix you a place to sleep. I don't usually buy day-old chicks, but I'll give you a penny apiece for those that hatch. Chancy looked up gratefully, but now Paducah seemed a long way off. It might take him most of the summer by foot. He dug the buckeye out of his pocket and glared at it. A precious lot of good that had brought him. He wanted to hurl it to the road, but held back. He was afraid. Throwing away a good luck piece seemed an awful act. It might let loose all its dark powers against him. In the end, he tucked it back into his hip pocket. He'd give it one more chance. And that is the end of Chapter 2.